Dogman Sasquatch Showdown in the PNW. Dear Scary Stories NYC. I'm kind of an amateur monster follower or monster hunter. I don't like to think of what I do as hunting though, since really I just try to follow them around and anticipate where they might be next. I also feel I should state up front that my methods have not been working for the last 20 years or so, since the last time I saw a cryptid with my own eyes was 2002. I thought I had developed ways to narrow down where they were traveling, but I now think those were just lucky guesses, and I had a good luck streak. From 1992 through 2002, I saw 7 different cryptids in the Pacific Northwest during 6 different sightings. In the last one, which is the main attraction here, I saw both Dogman and the superstar cryptid of the Pacific Northwest himself, Bigfoot. That was the one and only time I ever saw a Bigfoot, even though I was born in Northern California and raised in Washington State. Dogman, which is not as known for existing in this area, is the cryptid that I followed most closely during my lucky streak period in the 1990s. But I am not the only person who's been seeing the Dogman up here, and I can offer you some receipts for that statement as well. For instance, in 1982, a man claimed to have seen a creature that resembled a wolfman in the Kettle Falls area of Washington State, at least according to good old Lon Strickler at Phantoms and Monsters. In 2000, an alleged sighting of a Dogman was reported in Wenatchee, Washington, according to the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, or BFRO. In 2004, a hunter in Oregon claimed to have seen a large bipedal animal with wolf-like features, according to Strange Outdoors. In 2015, a couple driving on a highway in Oregon reported seeing a large creature that looked like a wolf on 2 legs, and that report was sent into the BFRO. I could go on, but get the picture. So I am not the only one seeing this creature in the Pacific Northwest. Most of my sightings are not the most remarkable, but I think the fact that I saw the creature so many times is in and of itself interesting. If only my theories about Dogman migration had proven true, we might have been able to study the creature and establish its reality long ago. But that was not the way fate decided to play it. The first time I saw a Dogman, I was driving on U.S. Highway Route 26, aka the North Warm Springs Highway. It cuts through the woods over by Mount Hood. It's just forest land as far as the eye can see. And this was not a very crazy sighting or anything. I saw the Dogman trot out into the road, see me, then turn around and run fast back the way he came. The thing is, most of the time I saw him, he was in profile to me. I could see his body shape pretty clearly, the silhouette of it, I mean. It was a dog, but it was standing up, and it was walking on its hind legs. Then it turned around and ran back, but it never dropped down to all 4s. It was the creepiest thing I'd ever seen. It made me want to make a U-turn myself, but I knew it was scared of me. Otherwise it wouldn't have run back into the bushes. So I floored the gas pedal and blew past it as fast as I could, shivering all over. When I got home, I talked about it with my friends, and they could tell I wasn't joking, nor was I talking about a bear or anything else. This had been a skinny Dogman. It was not the bigger kind people have been reporting more recently. This was like 1991 or 92, and I had only been living in the area for at most maybe 6 months, 7 months when that happened. I never marked the date down, but I should have in retrospect, because it was the day when I became obsessed with the Dogman. My friend Steve had a theory about them migrating that I wanted to test out. Steve just wanted to theorize, not get his boots dirty, so he stayed home, while I went on a camping trip to a location that the Dogman should be near on those dates, according to Steve's theory. I was driving south to Umpqua National Forest, where I was going to hike and camp, and of course look for the Dogman. On the way there, I am 95% certain I saw another of those Dogmen peeking out from behind a tree. It had to be a Dogman, just judging by the height of the head off the ground. I did not see the majority of its body, however, so I can't really say. And most of my sightings are like that, I admit. But number 4 was a good one, and that deserves a complete telling, because I might have been seeing a female, a mother dogman actually. I remember that camping trip to Happy Lake Campground like it was yesterday, even though it was well over 20 years ago now. My friends and I were all avid hikers, and we were eager to explore the woods around Port Angeles, Washington. Little did we know that we were about to have an encounter that we would never forget. It was a really beautiful day, and we were all in high spirits as we set off into the woods. Hiking through the forest near Happy Lake in the middle of the summer is an absolute delight for nature enthusiasts. The forest is lush and vibrant, filled with a diverse range of flora and fauna. We didn't just see the Dogman while we were there. We also saw Douglas firs. Those tall evergreen trees are a staple of that forest, dominating the natural skyline with their majestic presence. We saw the western red cedars, the big leaf maples, the ferns, and the wildflowers bursting into a riot of brilliant hues like red, purple, and yellow. A whole variety of songbirds call those woods home, including thrushes, warblers, and finches. You'll hear them. They provide the soundtrack album, as it were. Black-tailed deer are common in those woods, and visitors are likely to spot them grazing in meadows and along stream banks. The Roosevelt elk is the largest land mammal in Washington, weighing up to a staggering 1,200 pounds. Once in a while you might see a black bear in that forest, searching for berries and other food. Like humans. This is one of the places in America where you can actually still, if you're very, very lucky, see a bald eagle soaring high above the trees, patrolling the skies for prey. Overall, the woods near Happy Lake in the summer are a stunning showcase of the region's natural beauty, with an abundance of life thriving within it. Even if you aren't searching for cryptids, it's a place you want to visit if you love nature. We followed a well-worn path, chatting and laughing as we went. We had been hiking for about an hour when I spotted something strange in the distance. It was a kind of creature I had never seen before, fussing over something in the tall weeds. As we got closer, it looked to me like the creature was half human and half dog, kind of like the earlier dogman I had seen, but somehow different too. The others were whispering in hushed tones that it was a Bigfoot, but they were wrong. The head was all wrong for a Bigfoot. I told them that it was a dogman, but they didn't know what that was back in the 90s, and they kept ignoring me to talk about the Bigfoot up there in those trees and high grass. We couldn't see it very well, and we were afraid to go closer, so we took turns guessing at what we were seeing. We all agreed that it was too tall to be a human, and that it was staring intently at something in those weeds. I couldn't tell what it was at first. We thought it was trying to catch some small animal to eat it, but the behavior didn't really match that. We couldn't see very well from our point of view. One of us was lugging a Betamax video camcorder thingy with them, or maybe it was a Super 8 or something. I remember it was smaller than a VHS camcorder. It fit in one hand, and it recorded video onto little small tapes that wouldn't play in the VCR. Anyway, they tried to videotape the creature, but we looked at it later. And on the video, they looked even farther away than it looked to our naked eye in real life. So you absolutely could not tell what you were seeing, even when he held the camera steady for a second or two in a row, which was rare. Back then, though, I didn't care about video or images. I lived in the moment, and I was amazed by what I was seeing. I couldn't believe that such creatures existed, and I felt like I was seeing something truly magical. But at the same time, I admit I was a little frightened. I didn't know what that dogman would do if it spotted us. I didn't want to risk angering it. So we kept our distance and watched from afar. And then, all of a sudden, we guys murmured, and the women gasped, as something climbed really fast up the body of that dogman. It was something small, and approximately the same color as the dogman, so it was very hard to make out. I thought the dogman was under attack, but it didn't act that way. In fact, It seemed to be happy that this something had just climbed up its body to settle on its shoulder. "It's a baby," said one of the girls, and all the females instantly agreed. I still didn't see it that way, but women would understand that connection between a mother and child better than I would, obviously, especially when I was a headstrong young man. I was actually somewhat offended at the time that this big scary monster, taller than any man, was being called a female of the dogman species, but, that's probably what it was. After a few minutes, the dogman and her pup, or whatever she had sitting on her shoulder, walked off into the woods, and we continued on our hike. But that encounter stayed with me for a long time, even now, over 2 decades later. I sometimes wonder about that dogman and her pup. I wonder what their lives were like, and whether they're still out there, living in those woods. And I can't help but wonder, was that really her pup, or was it something else entirely? Now let's get to that big final 2002 sighting. I had been hiking with a friend named Stanley in the Olympic National Forest because I had determined, using my system that still seemed viable at the time, that the dogman should be migrating through that park at around that date. We spent a week hiking around and did not get lucky. So it came time to hike back in the direction of Mason County, where we had parked our vehicle. We needed to get back to Stanley's girlfriend's place in Seattle, and since we had packed up and left late, we were trying to focus on moving fast and not sightseeing so much. Stanley showed me that his compass and his maps told him that if we turned off trail and headed due east in this one place, that we should cut 4 hours off our hike. I was all for that, so I followed him off the known trail and into the mystery of the woods. I trusted my friend Stanley, and I was young and naive, so I fully expected this would be a shortcut and nothing more. Certainly nothing memorable. I couldn't believe my eyes as we stumbled upon the clearing in the dense forest. At first I thought I was dreaming or had lost my mind, but the sight before me was too real and too surreal to dismiss. There in front of me were 2 enormous creatures engaged in a fierce fight over a moose carcass. Stan grabbed me and pulled me down behind some foliage so that we could watch without being noticed. The first hungry predator in front of us was a Sasquatch, a legendary ape-like being that I had only heard about in tales and rumors. It stood at least 10 feet tall and was covered in shaggy brown fur, with broad shoulders and massive arms that looked capable of uprooting trees. Its face was half human, half ape, with piercing red eyes and a stern expression that showed it meant business. It had one massive hand locked around the moose's antlers, trying to pull it away from its opponent. And that opponent was a dogman, a species that I had seen 5 times before, but never this particular one. It was smaller than the Sasquatch, at only 7 feet tall, but much more agile and predatory. Its body was covered in sleek black fur, and its eyes shone like amber orbs of fury. It had a canine face, with a long snout, sharp teeth, pointed ears, and massive claws on its paws that looked as lethal as any weapon. It was circling around the Sasquatch, trying to find an opening to attack. The scene was both terrifying and exhilarating. I wanted to run and hide, but I also couldn't take my eyes off the spectacle. The Sasquatch bellowed a warning, flexing its muscles to intimidate the dogman. The dogman growled and leaped forward, aiming for the Sasquatch's throat. Sasquatch swung its fist and caught that dogman midair, sending it tumbling back with a loud thud. The dogman bounced up quickly, snarling and swiping with its claws. The Sasquatch blocked the attack with its massive arm, grunting in pain, but not showing any signs of backing down. Now both creatures were circling each other, breathing heavily, and sizing each other up. The dogman suddenly changed tactics and charged straight at the Sasquatch's legs, trying to bring it down, but with little initial effect. The dogman was smaller than the Bigfoot, but its agility and ferocity made up for its size. It was covered in sleek brown fur, with pointed ears, sharp teeth, and massive claws on its paws. It was snarling and biting at the Bigfoot's legs, trying to bring it down. The Bigfoot was trying to fend off the attacks with its massive fists. But that dogman was quick and unpredictable. The fight was intense and brutal. The Bigfoot tried to grab the dogman with its enormous hands, but the dogman was too fast and avoided its grasp. The dogman, on the other hand, seemed to be able to anticipate the Bigfoot's moves and find its weak spots. It kept clawing at the Bigfoot's knees, biting its ankles, and dodging its punches. After what felt like hours, the Bigfoot seemed to be weakening. Its roars were becoming less frequent, and its movements were slower and less effective. The dogman sensed that it had the upper hand and lunged forward, aiming for the Bigfoot's neck. The Bigfoot tried to block the attack, but its grip was feeble. The dogman's teeth sunk into the Bigfoot's neck, drawing blood and flesh. The Sasquatch let out a deafening howl of pain and rage. It shook its head and tried to throw the dogman off, but the dogman's grip was too strong. The Bigfoot stumbled backward, tripping over a fallen tree trunk. It fell to the ground, crushing some smaller trees in the process. The dogman jumped off and circled around it, panting heavily. Well, I think that Bigfoot had enough. It got up slowly, supporting its weight on one arm. It looked at that dogman with a mixture of fear and anger, and then it turned around and it walked away, disappearing into the forest. The dogman just watched it go, staying alert until it was completely out of sight. Finally, seeming to accept that it was all over, the dogman erupted in an ear-splitting vocalization that really surprised me. I wasn't sure if it was a howl of triumph or a roar or what, but once he finished that unique scream, he turned back to devouring that moose carcass that he had fought so dearly to secure the rights to. I let out a breath I didn't know I was even holding. I was amazed that both creatures had survived that fight, but I was also scared of getting noticed. We both left that clearing, shaking my head in disbelief at what I had seen. Now, Stanley and I did not agree entirely about what we saw. I feel I should make note of that. I say we saw Bigfoot fighting a dogman, and he says that was a Bigfoot fighting a googway. In Stanley's opinion, the creature was too big to have been a dogman. Now, it is highly likely that you are not familiar with the term googway. Well, actually, if you watch this channel, you might already know, but I'll explain it anyway. It's a creature that is said to inhabit the forests and swamps of North America. While sightings of the googway are relatively rare, the creature is often spoken about in hushed tones by those who believe in its existence. So what exactly is a googway? In many ways, the googway is similar to the dogman, another legendary creature that is said to roam the American woods. Both are tall and muscular, with a humanoid body and a snout longer than a Bigfoot's. They're both known for being vicious and territorial, and for being deadly meat-eaters. However, there are significant differences between the two creatures. The physical differences between them are worth noting. The googway is often described as being taller than the average human, with some reports suggesting that it can reach up to 10 feet in height. Its body is said to be covered in shaggy hair or fur, with large glowing eyes that can be seen in the dark. Its long snout is usually described as resembling that of a baboon, more than that of a canine. Rumors abound that both creatures are man-eaters, but I don't know if that's been proven or not. Perhaps the most significant difference, however, is the fact that the googway is a creature that is steeped in Native American folklore. It is said to have been known to many tribes, including the Iroquois, the Cherokee, and the Ojibwe. There are lots of stories told about the googway, with some suggesting that it is a gentle spirit that watches over the forest and its inhabitants, while most stories describe it as a malevolent entity that is best avoided altogether. So maybe that's what I saw, and maybe that's why it defeated the Bigfoot that day. But if so, then probably most of the 5 previous dogman sightings I had Might also have been Googways because they all look like that creature I saw battling the Squatch. Nevertheless, that was the last time I would see a cryptid. It wasn't for lack of trying though. I continued to camp up until a bit before the pandemic. I'm thinking about heading out this summer again for a shorter trip than I used to make, like maybe a camping weekend with the wife. She isn't into cryptids like you and me though, and she doesn't like roughing it. So we'll probably go someplace and rent a cabin or something like that. Still, if we do, in the back of my mind all the time I'm out there, I'll be thinking, did I see something? Did I just hear something? Was that a Squatch? Could that have been a Dogman? And so forth like that. Just because I haven't had a sighting in 20 years doesn't mean I don't want to see one of them again. Because oh boy, do I. But it's not like I have a right to complain. Not after I got to see the Dogman Sasquatch Showdown in the PNW. Is CS the best? The answer is yes. She is the best of the best of the best. Please join me in thanking CS for being the most incredible executive producer, supervising producer, and everything else to us here at Scary Stories. CS is really our life's blood and backbone all at the same time. She is the sun we revolve around, and we can't ever thank her enough. If you would like to join us in spinning in the orbit of this celestial star, then listen to what our international TV spokesmongrel has to say about it. Hank? Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that when it cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.